Check Podcasts.
Hi, I'm Bruce Williams. I'm the CEO of the Greater Victoria Chamber of Commerce, and welcome to Chamber Chats, coming to you as always from here in the podcasting studios at the Czech Media Group, one of our chamber champions. I would like to acknowledge, as always, that I live and work in the land of the Lekwungen-speaking nations, the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. And, of course, all of this is made possible with the support of Island Savings, who are a division of First West Credit Union, by the way, who are redefining what banking can do for people, for community, and for the world. October is Small Business Month. Within our chamber, for example, probably 85% of our members are companies with less than 10 employees. Small business is the backbone of the economy of this country. So lots of big companies and corporations, but most people work for a small business. We are doing something this month with our partners at Doane Grant Thornton to celebrate Small Business Month. And joining us to talk about that is Tara Benham, who is the National Tax Leader and the Domestic Partner on Taxes for Doane Grant Thornton. Congratulations on the new name, by the way.
Thanks, Bruce. It really is something that we're going back to our roots and our legacy, and so Doane was our founder. So that's where this is coming from.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So you work with small business people all the time, as do everybody, all the partners at Grant Thornton and the rest of Doane Grant Thornton. So what's sort of the guiding principle for success in a small business? What are the things that are front and center all the time in that planning and operating?
I think from a small business side of things, privately held business is kind of where we focus our attention and what drives Grant. I'm going to do it too, Grant Thornton, Doane Grant Thornton.
I'll remind you.
Yeah, thank you. It's taking me a while. So what are the things that are important? I think it really, and what drives success, it's start with the passion. What is it that when you're losing track of time are you doing? And from a small business side of things, anybody who has passion in what they're doing is going to continue working and moving on that and really create success for themselves. It is a massive amount of hard work. And if you do not have that passion, then it is going to be an uphill battle. So that's the kind of pie in the sky answer. Of course, there's the business answer as well. And what we talk to our clients about, have you planned? Do you have a cash flow? Do you have a long-term vision? Have you done the strategy? So all of those sorts of things as well. There's so many different aspects that you can look at as to what does drive success.
I think in your time, you've probably, especially during the pandemic, seen a lot of people in small business do really innovative and creative things to pivot with what was going on. Can you give me some examples of that?
I think one of the most innovative, it was a shoe store. And of course, the pandemic hits and nobody's shopping. And so all of a sudden they had all of this time. And so what did they do? They said, well, I've always wanted to play with my website or create a website, play with a website, try and figure out how and what online sales might look like. And within a very short period of time, the online shoe sales has far exceeded the other portion of it. So really from an innovative standpoint, it was, focus on your business. What does it look like? I think the other thing that I've seen from an innovative standpoint is the uptake on technology and the ability to do so. For instance, you and I on video. Previously, in the different world, I would have come to Victoria and you and I would have sat across the desk from each other. And it is now just 100% the norm that we can sit here. I'm in my office, you're in yours, and we're still having a great conversation. So what I'm seeing is that broaden the world from an innovation standpoint, and location is not as relevant. The human touch is still really important and does drive the world, I think. But from an innovation, it's uptake in technology is the one that I'm seeing the most.
Yeah, we've sure seen that a lot with, as you say, during the pandemic, when suddenly websites and online ordering became a thing. So that's impacted retail in a huge way, which we can get into a bit later on. But let's take a look at some of the things that, we always see these as challenges, but sometimes they're positive things too. Things that impact business in our lives every day: interest rates, housing costs and availability, transportation, daycare. Talk to me about interest rates, this whole spike we've seen in the last couple of years. What's been that impact, or the impact of that rather, on small business?
It's been more expensive, quite honestly. Any business that has been levered, going into a new business, if you're going to be levering to buy, meaning borrowing to buy, it's a massive consideration. It used to be something that was, quite honestly, we lived in a land for 20 years where interest rates were not so much an issue, and you could just kind of, it was a line item, but it wasn't like a real consideration. When the interest rates got as high as they did, it was definitely dug deep in, and you had to plan a lot better for businesses who already were um, in kind of had debt that had accrued. It was really a lot of a matter of cash flow. Can I survive? Am I surviving? We saw the real estate industry was definitely one that was very much affected, the residential real estate market, as well as the construction industry. Construction industry, we are still seeing the kind of overflow effects of the interest rates, plus all of the other cost of construction that COVID happened. So I do think it's with the increase in interest rates, the requirement for planning and cash flow management is so much more important. And it's not always what somebody thinks about because it's not the fun stuff.
Oh, no. No, it's really not. But, we see people now that are starting up a business in these times with these interest rates.
Yeah.
They're coming to terms with what they have to do related to those costs and those interest rates. In fact, opening a business now, I would think, is going to get a little bit better as the rates go down. But people who were, working on a line of credit or had borrowed money at an older rate and it was a variable rate, saw that increase. That's where the challenge has been for them, is to deal with these increases. So what kind of
Yeah.
changes have you seen in the way people operate? Have you been dealing with people that are closing because they can't afford it anymore?
Yep. Not so many that are closing, but a lot of them like very tight constraints and what they're doing and how they're operating. I am not going to do this expansion because of the cash flow issues. The other interesting flip side of it is necessity is the mother of invention, is the way you can frame it. And what they are doing is combing their operations for all of those little places where they can save. When life is good, you tend to, leave the lights on. Um, Versus when you're cutting costs and pinching pennies, well, you walk out of the room and you turn the lights off. Expand that into everything. And it's interesting to see what people are finding that are incremental um, savings. And I can think of one client, and it was a really interesting conversation. So she was having so highly levered. She was having cash flow issues because there's only so much that her store brought in, and then she is buying supplies, and she has to pay for the supplies to put them, to put them in the store to sell. And so she was talking about dragging out her payments to the absolute last point in time because she didn't want to go into her line of credit because that interest rate was so high. And I then I sat back and said, "Well, do you not get a discount if you pay faster?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Okay, well let's look at this. How much of a discount do you get?" And we ran the numbers, and the discount that she got for paying within 10 days versus waiting for the 30-day deadline to pay and drawing on that line of credit for that additional 20 days. And she was far in the positive by drawing on the line of credit and paying early. So it's just an interesting way that you start thinking about things. And I'm really seeing that, or have been seeing that, all over the place.
Yeah, this is another example of why someone like you, a professional, a financial professional, can help people with their business, large or small. But it is Small Business Month we're talking about today on Chamber Chats. We're going to continue this conversation talking about the fact that so many of them are family owned. We're talking today on Chamber Chats with Tara Benham, who is with Doane Grant Thornton. She is a senior national tax leader. So small businesses, like I grew up in a family business. We owned a bakery when I was a kid. Succession, though, people now, we have a family business association, a family business committee within the Chamber of Commerce. Succession is an issue because if you don't have somebody in your family that wants to take on the business, you have to find somebody else to buy it. You have to find someone who's willing to take it on and pay you what you want to get paid for your business. So, how do you deal with succession within small businesses?
Well, a lot of people are ostriches and they just don't. And it's really interesting to watch and walk the journey with people when they do start to think about it. So I mean, plan early, plan well, plan for contingencies is really what it looks like. So I do find that we recommend at least 5 years in advance, maybe 10 years in advance of when you would like to transition. We need to start having conversations and setting that stage. You need to make sure that the business is attractive. And what makes the business attractive? Well, let's look at your different type of business, and are there things that you need to change? And then who is going to buy? What are the options and opportunities there? Are you going to grow a successor? Is it within your family? Is it somebody? Private equity is a um, huge kind of play going on right now in many industries. A lot of other ones, there's corporate buyers, so they're not private equity, but they are corporate buyers. So things like dentists and ophthalmologists and a lot of those what you think are small businesses, and they're privately held. A lot of those, there's about two or three corporate entities buying those out. Same thing with hardware storage, so that within that 5 to 10 year time frame, start questioning and looking around and saying, what is the market? What is my plan? What is important to me? Sometimes it's not about money, it's about legacy and what does it look like. The interesting one that the government has just put out is the employee ownership trust. So there's new rules that were put out for that in the budget. And essentially, what it does is it kind of supercharges the capital gains exemption. So when you are selling the vending shareholder, the owner of the company, instead of a $1.25 million capital gains exemption, so i.e. a tax-free gain on the sale of the shares, they can get $10 million tax-free. But what's required of that is you have to sell to your employees and you have to essentially relinquish control. And so there's lots and lots of different criteria. It is new. The legislation is not even in place, but it's what does the ideal succession look like to me?
Yeah, employee-owned companies are sort of an increasing. Well, Czech Television for Czech Media Group is employee-owned, in fact. So that they're a big company, but they're again, we're talking small business right now, but that's becoming a thing. So yeah, when you talk to about the transition of people in and out of a business, in a small business, there's usually a lot of people doing a lot of things, right? You're multitasking. When you lose someone to retirement or if they leave your company, how do you retain the skills and the knowledge that they are taking with them? How do you keep that in the company?
Really great question. And you have to build that into the culture, I think. First, you have to review and understand where the knowledge is within your specific business. And then, really, every single position, enhance and promote that somebody else is being pulled along and trained. I like to think that one of the things in all businesses you should be planning to do is replace yourself. Well, what does that mean? That means that who is the next person and what are they going to look like? Regardless of your age, you should be planning on replacing yourself. And so in Grant Thornton, so in Doane Grant
Doane
Thornton,
Grant Thornton, there you
we
go.
did like just use us as an example. We have a very strong coaching culture, and part of that is we want to grow and give people opportunities to stretch and strengthen themselves in many different places. But that coaching culture also creates a place where we can have somebody step into our shoes quite easily. I mean, it's never really easy because professionals are hard to find. Anybody is really hard to find with a specific skill set. But I think a focus on that as one of the pillars in your strategic plan. And will it be fail safe? No, but it's a really good way to start.
We talked about technology earlier on. You mentioned that you're in the Doane Grant Thornton office in Duncan right now,
Mhm.
and we're doing this through technology to make this happen. But technology has just, as you said, become a huge part of everything right now. How can small businesses make sure that they find the resources to keep up to speed with technology?
Well, of course, there are government grants, but that's an easy one to say. So there are different things that they can look at. There was one. I'm not going to remember the name of it, but it was $15,000. And it was through, like, how can you promote technology within your business? You probably actually ran it through your chamber.
Hmm.
Yes. So make sure, quite honestly, one of the things from a technology standpoint is make sure that you understand what is available to you. Your local chamber is a perfect place to go and ask that question. And then industry associations. Who else in your industry is doing what in your industry? What does that look like? So know your competitors, talk to your competitors, be open, look for technology. And I also just like to look at different options of how could you do this differently? What can you use it for? So ChatGPT is a perfect example of what is out there. Okay, how can I apply this to my business? And what does that look like? And broaden the scope of um, business doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the sales or whatever service it is. How can I be more efficient within the business and use technology for that? So
You mentioned ChatGPT, which of course is AI, artificial intelligence. We have to talk about that,
we
which
do.
which we're going to do next. Tara Benham is our guest today on Chamber Chats. She is a domestic tax partner with Doane Grant Thornton. She's speaking to us from the Duncan office today. Okay, so AI we could talk about for 11 hours if we really wanted to, but small business sometimes with matters of capacity think that they don't have the capacity to engage with AI or get involved with it. What advice do you have for them?
I think it would be curious and really understand what is out there, what is the opportunity, and kind of try and apply it. So right now in Doan, we're running a pilot on some AI within the firm, and so we have 300 people. And there are some people within our firm who are totally engaged in this. And so we were talking, and it was, oh, well, I started writing a paper or and had a framework of what I wanted to talk about. And then I threw it into our AI and said, write a PowerPoint for me. I won't need to do a presentation. That's somebody who's curious and embracing it. Others are, oh, I haven't really started trying to use it. So I think from an owner standpoint, it's really sit back and say, what are the opportunities? How can I apply this? What am I doing right now? Is there a way that I could try to make this easier? And really, if you are curious, you will find ways. There are also ways where it doesn't enhance, and it do I want to share that knowledge? I think that's another question that we really need to ask. So we certainly don't want to put anything proprietary into ChatGPT because it's now out there. So what does that look like? But there is also um, very much there are proprietary softwares where you can start looking at AI.
This conversation we're having with you with Doane Grant Thornton. It's the new name. I'm getting there. But, that proves the value in people consulting with a financial professional person. I mean, a lot of us are
Yeah.
kind of illiterate when it comes to that. Might be really
Mhm.
good at your business, but you're afraid of money. You don't know what to do about it. So tell me about the role of an organization like yours or even the financial institution. Island Savings is the sponsor of this. What's the role of a bank, a financial institution, a credit union, and an organization like yours to help small businesses?
I think there's first the basic answer: give money, take money, pay interest, and all of the things that a traditional bank does. And from kind of a financial advisor side of things or an accounting firm, it would be, do my taxes, do my financial statements. So that's the kind of hard deliverable. But I think it's the advisory side that is the part that we really bring to the table. It's that experiential advice and sitting back and asking the questions. When I sit down with a client and when a banker sits down with a client as well, it's where are you right now? Where have you been? Where are you now? And where do you want to go? What does that journey look like? What are all your parts and pieces? And how do we want to move those around? Who are the people that have the experience that can help you? And if that's often a banker, it's often a lawyer, an accountant. I had a meeting last week and we had three accountants, a financial advisor, and a lawyer along with the clients. And it was really a let's take the state of the union and let's figure out where we are and where we want to go. And I think it's the What the advisor really brings is all of the experiences from other relationships. And all of them are little pieces and little stories. And then when somebody brings their particular fact pattern to us, we pull from all of those bits and pieces. I call them seeds. And so I've got all these little seeds that I've gained from all over the place, and every professional does. And once you talk to somebody, you put all those seeds together and it grows a garden.
We've seen a number of circumstances where small businesses, due to the challenges of the pandemic and other things, have decided to merge with another small business in a similar sector, or acquisition, mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah.
So that's something that's been a survival tactic for a lot of people. How does one undertake that without losing a lot of the equity and the character that you have in your small business?
And I think that's super important because e- somebody starts their small business, it's their baby, they grow the business, and they want to maintain what is there. So one of the things that we recommend is essentially a culture check. And so when you are going into looking at a merger and or an acquisition, it's, does the culture fit within your organization? So there's the financial aspects, does the services apply, but does the culture fit as well? And what does that look like on a go forward basis? Because if they aren't aligned, then essentially something is going to break. And that is first and foremost. And that's one of the things at Doane that is super important to us internally. Culture is one of our key components that is important to us. Our three pillars are colleagues, clients, and community. And if our culture is not aligned, and in fact, we have been voted the best place to work for 17 years in a row. Um, and it's a national award. And why is that? Because culture is so important to us. When we merge in new accounting firms, just like we advise our clients, we walk the walk as much as we advise it. Is first and foremost, we look at, does the culture fit? Because if it doesn't, there won't be a success.
Yeah. As much as we sort of bulk all of this together, this is Small Business Month, celebrating small business. Each business is unique unto
Mhm.
itself, which is, again, why advice from people like you matters so much in this whole thing. So I want to thank you very much to Doane Grant Thornton for supporting this through the Chamber of Commerce. And as always, we recommend that people reach out to professionals to make sure they're getting the correct business advice that they need. Tara Benham, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks. Great talking to you.
There's a whole bunch of stuff we didn't get to, so we'll have to do this again, too, very soon.
It's okay.
Yeah, anyway, thanks for being here. I'm Bruce Williams. We'll see you again for another Chamber Chat.